How's everybody doing? Any wins for the week? All right, we'll give it a few more minutes to get everybody in here. You guys, we just got off a killer leadership retreat in Nicaragua. That was really good time. Really good time. All right. Tristan, when are you guys moving to the new office?
September 1st. They're painting it right now, throwing a new carpet, and should be ready by then.
Let's go.
Yeah, stoked for it.
Let's go, brother. I'll have to see some pictures of it. All right. We'll give it 30 more seconds and then we will have everybody pile on in here and we'll get ripping. We will get ripping. All right. One thing that was on my heart though, while we're waiting on everybody to come in, is I was actually I was thinking about this morning. So there's an analogy. Some of you may have heard this before, but they did a study and they analyzed a mouse and they put it on a treadmill to realize how fast it was walking. And they did one study where they put it on the treadmill to see how much it would run and did not run at all. It was just chilling there. And they put the smell of cheese to see how fast it would go. And the mouse sped up and started going really fast. But then they incorporated not only the smell of the cheese, but they also put the smell of a cat behind the mouse. And they found the mouse ran 3 times harder the third time than the second time with just the smell of cheese. So that made me think about it, I was like, dang, in life, not only do we need something that we're striving towards, but it's incredibly beneficial to also have something that we're running against. And for me, that's the old version of myself, and a lot of people on this call can relate with that. And Hermosi talks about the formula for success, where number one, you need a sense of crippling insecurity where you're saying, hey, I'm not enough or I'm never going to be enough. That's a trait of many high performers. Secondly, you need a superiority complex. So it's that dichotomy of, hey, I'm not enough, but deep down, you know, and you believe that you can go out there and you can achieve a lot. And then thirdly is impulse control. So you have to have the discipline to continue to do the same thing consistently day in and day out. So we just spent a good amount of time in Nicaragua with our leaders, and you also have to be able to pivot on your feet too. One example of that is we flew in on Saturday, and Nicaragua, I found out the day before, so they got hit by a hurricane, and then on top of that, they had an earthquake that came in 2 days after. So the day before, we had to completely pivot plans when we came in. We were originally going to be right on the beach, on the water. We were going to go surfing and we are going to go deep sea fishing. We had all these activities planned. We had to completely pivot. And we ended up spending the week actually in a completely different part of the country, 3 hours away, all the way up in the mountains and did different activities and everything else. It's the same thing within your business where you may have a specific plan, but then you get hit in the mouth. There's that saying that we make plans and God laughs. So it goes to show each and every one of your businesses where your ability to think about how can I pivot on my feet, and even if things don't go your way, how quickly can you get up and rolling? So that was the one thing that was on my mind I wanted to share. Claudia is our guest in here. Favian, where are you at? What's up,
I'm here.
brother?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How we doing?
Great, man. I like the hat.
Appreciate it. I like yours.
Let's go. So what I'm excited to dive into it and hear the sauce today because you are somebody where you're a sniper and you do not get enough credit. Because spending time with you, I mean, just even when you're down here in our office and hearing you on the phones, you're a freaking dog. So let
Yeah.
everybody know, for those that don't know, how old are you?
I'm 20 years young.
20 years young. Were you doing sales before this?
No, I was graduating high school.
Straight out of high school into life insurance. What's been your biggest month so far?
92,000.
92,000. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do this year?
Minimum 750.
Minimum 750. Let's go. Let's go. So I'm excited to dive into it. Starting out, talk to us about what your first 30, 60 days looked like. Did you get it right away and pick it up, or was it a struggle?
No. I wish. No, it was a bit of it was a bit of a challenge for sure. I mean, I know you can see Lucas in the group chat. I mean, he knows. It was just about five of us, six of us in a small maternity resale spot. I'm sure you've heard of that, slightly pregnant. And I mean, it was rough. I didn't know really what to expect. My mindset was completely off. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. I was just going into it like, hey, I don't really know much about the business. I don't really know what surrounds it or what it really entails, but I know it's a good opportunity. I'm going to try it out for at least a year and see what happens. So my first 60 days, 90 days were pretty rough. I think I probably issued like 5,000 my first month, if that. I can vividly remember my first deal I closed as a his and hers, KCL, MM, both charged back before it could even send a payment through. Um, and that's all I can remember. Yeah, I mean, it was just really, really tough to be honest with you.
Man, you guys think about that. Ask yourself that if my first two deals charged back, would I still be in this business? There's certain people on this call that wouldn't be, and they wouldn't be where you're at. When did things really start to click for you?
I want to say after, I want to say I like really, really clicked was going to be beginning of this year, right? The year prior, like last year, I finished off with 268, so decent, not as bad, but I would say after like the third, fourth month, I got a good grasp on, how to sell, 2 to 3 policies plus a week. I think a bigger issue lied in my mindset, although I was selling some policies here and there, and also just fixing the little things, and then tying it all down. So I think after like th month 4, I knew what was going on. It was just more so a mindset thing I had to work on.
Yeah. So 4 months in, what are some habits that you found that are successful? Or what have you found? What are some habits that you found that have led you towards success in this business? Is the better way to phrase that question.
Yeah. And do you mean inside or outside of work?
Both.
Both. So I mean, outside of work, I'll be honest, like there's nothing crazy that I do. Like I don't have a crazy morning routine like you do. I mean, the gym is good here and there. I think also podcasts are good for me. That's a good way to kind of like expand my mindset and obviously keep learning. So a podcast is good. Reading here and there. I'm not the biggest fan of reading, so podcasts will do for me. I'll go to the gym. Not consistently. I'll be honest with you guys, but the gym is also another thing that I do outside of the workspace. But in the workspace, I think the biggest qualities that helped me really excel and kind of get this thing to take off was a major mindset shift where like going into it my first year, I'm more so focused on how can I profit the most off of this lead sheet. That was my mindset, like, and I'm sure everybody has that same mindset. So the shifting the mindset is a big quality advantage, I guess you could say. And in the business is consistently spending into leads. I know you guys hear it time and time after again, but it really is that simple. Like it's hard to understand until you actually do it, which all goes into the actual action of doing it, spending more and more and more. So being consistent on my lead spend has definitely been one of the biggest things for me and just keeping like a positive, abundant mindset throughout that whole time of doing it. Because like I said, my first year, my biggest mindset shift was, okay, how can I profit the most off of this lead sheet compared to how can I produce the most off of this lead sheet, whether I profit as much or not. Because ultimately, once you figure it out and you can sell at a high clip, from there it's just scaling it. Whereas you guys can see, I did 268 my first year. Come my second year, once I've got it figured out and I fine-tuned all the little things, I did 260 or 283 in the span from February all the way to May. I didn't work January. So to put it into perspective, I did my whole year. What I did last year, I did this year, but in 4 months.
Man, that's impressive. And I want to emphasize what you said, where you said, write this down. Once I flip my mindset to how can I profit the most on this lead sheet to how can I produce the most on this lead sheet, then the profit will naturally come. Because Fabian, you've been producing long enough, and anybody that's been producing knows that the profitability, if you're doing less than $15,000 a month, you're broke. That's a fact. But the profitability between 0 to 20K is much less than between 20 to 40. And especially between that, like once you're consistently producing above $30,000 a month, that's when it starts to kick in and that's when it starts to get nasty. And you're really starting to make money because your expenses are only like you can only get your expenses so low. So it's the mindset of the scarcity mindset of, oh, how can I have less expenses or how can I make more money? And I always choose the route of how can I make more money? Because that's what's going to yield you the most success long term. One thing I want to ask you is do you currently have a dialer?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What percentage of your day or of your appoint, let's say, no, let's say what percentage of the presentations and people you sit down with, so not even booked appointments, but people you sit down with come from your dialer versus yourself?
So for now, it's been all dialer really, because I've really been able to scale it to that point.
And is
At
that one?
first, come again.
Is it just one dialer?
Now I have two. I have
Cool.
two.
Okay.
Although I don't really get many appointments from dialing, I'll be honest. A lot of it's just text blasting that really seems to work well. But to your point, like when I first was making that transition from dialing and also having the VA as supplement, I would say probably 75% of the deals were coming from me, or the presentations, I guess you could say. So, for example, like it's not just because of the system I'm able to produce this. Don't get me wrong, the system has helped me produce it, and it's also been much more enjoyable throughout the process. But I could still hop onto H Miller's hand dial or even like a fresh campaign and still rip for 50, 60K months, which I've done. So, to your point, yeah, about 75% of them are coming from myself where they were. And then now it's all VA appointments that I'm showing up to.
That's awesome. Because eventually that's everybody's goal on this call is getting to the point where you're no longer having to text and dial yourself. How long did it take you to get to that point?
So it took me about 6 months. So
6 months.
I had my dialer since end of December. That's when I officially like paid for my dialer. And I got it like 2, 3 weeks afterwards. So like right into January, the beginning of it. I didn't really fully make that switch up until I believe it was April this year or even May, end of April, where I did no dialing, just straight VA appointments, and that's it. So it
Got
took
it.
me about 3 months to really make that transition.
Okay, so 3 months of getting the dialer to only showing up to booked appointments. And then before that, because you've been in this business for a year and a half,
Yeah,
correct?
right.
Okay. So from when you started to the time from when you started to when you're only showing up to pre-booked appointments was well over a year.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that is that accurate?
of course. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I want to emphasize that. What's because so many people go into this business and they think, oh, they look at a guy like Favian, where it's like, all right, well, Favian, he's not dialing, he's not, he's not getting any appointments himself. It's all of his dialers, so I want that. Well, you guys didn't see the grind that he put in for the entire year prior to get his business to the point where he can just show up to pre-booked appointments. And then an agent that's 30, 60 days in is thinking that it's not realistic expectations.
Right.
What was your biggest month with zero pre-booked appointments? Just yourself personally
I
producing.
believe I believe it was about like 72, 70, 72, 75-ish.
Bam. So does having a dialer help tremendously? Yes, of course. Should everybody on this call get to the point where they have at least one dialer dialing for them? 1000%. but I want to set realistic, well, you guys have to have a realistic expectations within yourself where you got to know the path to get there because you have to build the businessman first before you have the business plan. If you don't possess that, if you don't possess what it takes in order to get to that point, well then it's never going to happen. Because Fabian, let me ask you, if you would have been set up with a dialer and texting VAs and everything else day one, what would have happened?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure I would have did the same thing, if not a little bit better, but at the same time, like I'm going into presentations, I'm just going to completely blow the presentation if I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Yeah.
So like it's
Would you
crucial
have
that you
been able
figure it
to
out.
afford to stay in the business?
Probably not. Probably not at that point, just because of the amount that you got to invest, which again, that's where the mindset shift comes into. Like you're not supposed to be worried so much about where you're going to profit, especially if you're a newer agent, because you're still figuring this thing out. I think a big thing that people miss is that it's still a business at the end of the day. Like it's a business model. It's not just a sales job. Because if that was the case, you could go to a captive space where you don't worry about as many things as you do now, right? So having that mindset is that like, hey, I'm gonna figure this out in my first year. And that was my complete like game plan. Like, hey, I'm gonna figure this out in the first year. Second year, I'm gonna ramp it up and scale it and just go hard, which evidently I'm doing now.
Bam. At what point would you say it makes sense for somebody to get a dialer?
So when it makes sense is if you're spending at least, let's say, $1,500 a week in leads, that should be enough for you to dial every single week and get you through from Monday to Friday at least. Saturday, in some cases, depending what leads you're running or what kind of age, or what lead type. If not, Saturday could be a cleanup. So my idea behind it is you either got time and money, time or money. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. If you got enough time to rip through that $1,500 worth of leads in a week, then you don't really need a dialer yet because there's no work to offload off of your plate because you have enough. Now, if you come into a situation where you have enough to spend 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 a week, well, then in that situation, you probably don't have enough time to really call all of those leads because that's way more than you can handle. So that's when strategically it makes sense to just offload the work and give it to somebody else so you don't have to deal with it. And ultimately, it's much more efficient. So that's kind of what I realized when I was doing, 60 or I mean 70, 75K a month. I'm like, well, if I want to go higher, like I only got so much time on my hands. Like I got to give this work to somebody else, and that's where the dialer comes into play.
Hmm. I hope everybody got that. And I want to emphasize the flawed mindset of some people that I've seen that have come into this is they think, oh, I can get a dialer so I can work less. If that's your mindset, this is going to be a hard business. It's not, I'm going to get a dialer so I can work less. It's, I'm going to get a dialer so I can double my efforts. I'm going to get a dialer so I can invest the same amount of time and produce more. That's where your mind and that's where your mindset needs to be at. What would, Fabian, one thing I've just getting to know you and everyone on this call would agree that anybody that knows you is your maturity definitely exceeds your age. Where you have a very good head on your shoulders, but not only are you mature, but more importantly, you're grounded and you're self-aware. I can tell just by talking to you on this call, which I'm very impressed with, and that's really cool to see. And that's one important attribute that every single agent needs is having the self-awareness to be able to analyze where they need to develop and improve. And so there's a fine line, though, I want to emphasize and clarify. There's a big difference between self-awareness and overanalyzation. And most agents get stuck on the overanalyzation, overthinking side of things. So, two parts to my question. A, when you were starting, what were some, and not to put you on the spot, but I think anytime I get a guest on here that's a high level producer, it's one thing we've noticed that people get the most from is being able to hear the mistakes they've made or what they've learned along the way. So my question to you is what were some things that coming in through self-analyzation you realized, "Hey, this is what I need to improve in order to where I need to be." And then second part to that is how did you do that without falling into the trap of overthinking?
Yeah.
I know that was a long-winded question.
Yeah. So to the first part, I think a big thing that I ran into was just like the mindset. Like the victim mindset, the everything is happening to me, right? All of that kind of stuff, that the bad thoughts, the anxiety, all of that creeps in, especially as a newer agent. And that was probably one of the biggest things that I dealt with coming into this business, not knowing what to expect. Because I mean, it's brutal, don't get me wrong. Like you're sitting there dialing $400 a day for 6 days a week and 4 weeks in a month, and you get no deal, right? So what I realized was like, hey, I'm doing everything that my uplines are telling me to do. Like I'm showing up, I'm buying the leads that they told me to buy. I'm getting enough of them. I'm getting probably more than I should have. So what's kind of going wrong here? Well, then I kind of sat back. I know I had some deep talks with Lucas, my direct upline, and a lot of it just really stemmed from those anxious thoughts, the mindset, like all of that ties back into it. Chris Maka as well, it was huge on this to help me out a lot, I will say, on the mindset part. And a lot of it just comes from just making myself the victim. Like once I was able to kind of analyze everything and figure out like, hey, I'm doing everything right. I am selling, but the reason I'm not selling as much as I can is simply because of the mindset that I have. So when I started to realize that, I started to shift a couple things like, hey, if I got through a presentation, I got no sale, back then I would have been like, damn, like, I should have sold that person. Like now I'm pissed off or, whatever the case is. The next call, I probably have a tone of voice where I'm pissed off because I couldn't sell the other person. Very aggressive. And when I started shifting that into hey, this is actually a win. This is a good thing because I was able to get through a presentation without getting stopped through the intro, right? The little wins, they stack up. They make you feel better and ultimately you sound better. That was the biggest thing for me, just shifting the negatives into positives some way, somehow. And you got to be a little bit delusional behind it. Like to be at the point where you're writing over, 50, 60, 70K a month or producing over 500,000 in insurance in a year, you got to be delusional. I mean, any business owner has some sort of delusion. And it has to be a good delusion, of course, right? So that was the first thing. And then what was the second part of your question? I kind of forgot there.
And then how do you not get stuck in the trap of overthinking?
So that's a great question because that was my biggest thing, like just overthinking. Like I would just overthink everything, like literally everything. Like, hey, I would literally sit there and think and drive myself nuts, like making up scenarios like, hey, what if I write 40 policies and 20 of them charge back? Like things like that to put into perspective, which I'm sure people have had in the past. So the way I keep from kind of getting into those thoughts is just staying busy, literally staying busy. And I vividly remember getting on a call. Actually, I can tell you what day it was. I have it here when I hopped on a call with you and Claudia. This is when you guys were at the Chicago office still, and it was right when you guys were about to leave. It was actually in April, towards the end of April. And I came to you guys with the same situation, like, hey, like my mindset is really bad. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I just had my PR month. And then my next month, I completely bageled for a whole month, and I still spent 4,000 in leads. Like, what are some pointers? And I remember vividly, you guys are saying just, hey, stay busy. Like, whatever you got to do to stay busy, whether it's in the business, outside of it, like, because that's ultimately when those thoughts creep in. So staying so busy that you don't have time to think about anything else besides what you're doing. And ultimately, it has to be something positive. So the gym was very, very good for me at the time. And also, kind of just reflecting on everything good that I've done so far, right, in the business. So all the wins, whether it's been, hey, like, I would literally break it down like, hey, I've issued 25 this month. I know I did 15 or 20 last month. Like that is huge growth. I know if I stay on this pace, ultimately I'm gonna be at X, I'm gonna be at this amount. So just keep on this pace and ultimately like having that positivity in your head is gonna help you.
Man, that's so powerful. And I can relate with that personally, where there was even, I remember I had, I was a year, almost 2 years into the business, and I had personally produced over $500,000 the first year, 548, and I had come off of a $60,000 month, and I was having a rough, rough 3 weeks. And I remember thinking, I was like, damn, did I just get lucky for the past year? Like, did I just happen? Like, yeah, just these crazy thoughts of like, did I just, and no matter how far we are in this business, those thoughts will occur. And so one of the things that helped me tremendously And a few people put it in the chat, and you said it too, Fabian, is dude, you have to just stay busy. The An idle mind is the devil's workshop. And that was one thing that helped me so much was on my days where I would genuinely, and here's the thing, it's not, all right, I'm gonna get like on the days I would get 6 appointments. I don't know why my camera just froze, but it's fun. On the days I would have 6 appointments, the odds would be worse than 12. It wouldn't be even odds. My probability of having a great day was so much greater. Even if I got the same shots at bat, I would still have a worse day simply because of the fact that I had more time to overthink. Versus if I was just so busy that I was just back to back to back to back to back to back, even if statistically it was the same, myself was going to perform better just because I didn't have time to overthink. So back in the day, when we were in person, they would say book 30 appointments, 30 appointments a week, 30 appointments a week, 30 appointments a week, 8 a day. I remember thinking, dude, I'm so bad. I need to get 10 or 12 just to get the same amount. And that's exactly what I did. And so I knew I would overthink. So I worked my face off to make sure, hey, if I'm dialing on Monday to book Tuesday, Wednesday, and I got a 2 hour block in the afternoon, dude, I need that block filled because if I don't fill that block or if I don't stay busy or I don't have something to do, then I'm just going to get stuck in my head and it's not going to lead to good things. So the same thing with yourselves is if you guys catch yourself getting in that loop, then you just get back into the rhythm of things and you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. I think to add to that, like, I think a good book that actually helped, and I'm not a big fan of books, right? So I think Outwitting the Devil, if nobody has, or if people haven't read that, that's a great book that helps you out with this like specific scenario. And again, to keep yourself so busy is like, dude, if you spend a ton of money, you're going to be more vested in to want to work and do it right than if you're just half-assing it or you're putting $500 of leads a week. Like $500 lost in a week or invested is way less. It's not going to hurt as bad as if you spent 2,500. That's another extra 2,000. So that's going to light a fire up under your ass for sure.
Hmm.
So one last thing I think as well to that is like, hey, like at the end of the day, you gotta be very tough on yourself, but at the same time, give yourself some grace. You gotta understand, like, you're human at the end of the day. Like people go through this, right? Whether it's in this industry, other industries, like people have these thoughts, but people get past it, obviously. So go to somebody you really trust and talk about it, right? That helps as well. Like get those thoughts out of your head. And a lot of it just comes down to mindset training. So whether it's videos, podcasts, books, like ultimately it's something that just progresses with time. I know there's a specific video. I can't remember the guy's name or what the video is. I think it got removed off of YouTube, but it was along the lines of rewiring your brain. So like I think a big takeaway that I had from it was people have thoughts all the time, like whether it's a good thought, bad thought, whatever it is, like the thoughts are there. I think what he really explained was like address or acknowledge the thought, but don't let it affect you, right? Go to the best case scenario of this thought and go to the worst case scenario and really ask your question. I really ask that question to yourself, like, is this really going to be the worst case scenario out of this thought? And I think that's just super powerful. I think that's also what helped me a lot. Like, acknowledge the thought, but don't let it affect you. Like, know it's there, but don't let it get to you because you understand what the worst case and the best case scenario is.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say one more thing on this and then we'll move on. But this is important. And so guys, listen up. Think about the inverse of what would happen. That has helped me tremendously. I think about that all the time. So let's play out an example of let's say Fabian, hey, if I want to guarantee that I'm going to get zero presentations and it's going to be a terrible day and I'm going to have a terrible negative mindset, what would I do? Well, I would definitely wake up as late as possible after the sun rises. I would be the last one in the office. I'd probably ensure that for breakfast I was consuming something that had really high sugar, and was very highly processed. I would immediately probably crack open an energy drink within 2 minutes of being awake, to crash, and then I would think negative thoughts, and I'd be in a bad mood, and then I would make sure I took no accountability for anything. I would blame my upline. What else would I do? And and then I would make sure that I was scrolling through Instagram in between dials to deplete my dopamine. And definitely didn't don't work out for sure. That's important too. So it's like it's like I think about all these different things and think about the inverse of it and make a long list. Think of as many things as possible. And then once you make that list, you think, "Oh, well, if I want to have a great day, then all I need to do is do the opposite of all of that." And then boom. That's it. That's it. So I want to move on here because we got some other stuff to go into. Fabian, not only piggybacking off what I said before, because awareness is not only important for yourself, but it's also important to be able to understand and read the client because we're all dialing the same script. We're all dialing the same script. We're all dialing the same leads. So why don't we have the same closing percentage? And I think it comes down to just your level of comfortability on the phone. And to be a high level producer, you have to have a high level of comfortability for the client, and you have to be able to respectfully challenge the client and not be afraid to sit in uncomfortable settings. So walk us through and feel free to get specific too. But what do you do in regards to building the why or respectfully challenge clients? And if you could back it up with specific scenarios or stories, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it goes into just asking questions and just kind of picking up pieces here and there until you have a whole puzzle filled up, right? So I've had scenarios where like people are, I mean, completely like just delusional in a bad way, where they're like, yeah, I mean, I make 1,500, she makes 1,000, our payment's 1,000, or whatever the case is, right? Just definitely cannot afford the home if anything happens. So I mean, I go to ask like, hey, yeah, what does it kind of look like, tomorrow? God forbid you can't make it back home today to your wife. I know there's not much we can do for her on the emotional side, but financially speaking, in terms of her taking over the mortgage payments, credit cards, car payments, living expenses, light bills, everything, and wrapped up, is she able to do that with just her own income and not yours, or what does that kind of look like for her? Oh yeah, I think she'll be fine. Yeah, she'll figure it out. Okay, awesome. And I understand it. I'm sure she'll probably figure it out. Like she's a very nice lady. Like she's very sharp. I'm sure she's not gonna let everything that you guys have worked hard for, just come all the way down. But like Jonah, like I don't mean to test your patience here, but like how exactly is she gonna make that happen with her own income only? Like it's way less than yours. Definitely cannot afford the mortgage on her own. So correct me if I'm wrong, but in this situation, there would have to be some sort of coverage in place for her to be able to keep this home and the lifestyle you guys live. Is that fair to assume? 9 times out of 10, yes. So like there, I'm not directly challenging him. I'm kind of guiding him to say what I want him to say in a sense, and not making it come off as salesy or pushy in a sense. So I'm like, hey, would you agree with me that that's kind of correct here? Yeah. Boom. That just gave you the green light.
What would you say when they're not that you just know they're BSing you?
I know they're BSing me.
How do you bring it out of them?
So I actually had this happen yesterday. So the guy had a bunch of policies. I'm like, hey, yeah, I mean, it makes the most sense to just consolidate what you have now. No reason to add on another. Like you have a pretty good amount of money going out already. Why don't you just maximize what you have, get more coverage, and keep your price the same? He was fully on board with it, but the whole time I could tell the guy wasn't really on board because he was just like, yeah, I'm listening, I'm listening. That was his only reply. So I'm like, all right, this probably ain't going anywhere, but I don't have another appointment for another 45 minutes or an hour, so why not? Right? Got nothing better to do. So get through the social, no objection at all, completely fine. I get to the banking. I mean, the dude has 5 policies. He knows what the process is like. He understands it. All right, what's the account? Hard no, hard pushback. Yeah, no, that's not happening. I'm not giving you my account number until I'm approved. I'm like, yeah, I understand, but it's, standard for any insurance application in the country. Go ahead with that when you're ready. Just hard nose. I'm like, all right, well, what's the biggest holdup? Like, you've done this before, you understand the process. So, I mean, if you don't want this, you can let me know now. I'm not here to waste my time, but at the same time, I don't want to waste your time, right? So I'm like, hey, like, if you don't want this, just let me know. Like, it makes total sense to have it put in place for you. And then the guy ended up just not being able to comply, and I ended up hanging up on him before he hung up on me. you know?
How do you handle situations where it's not a doom and gloom, where they're both making a good amount of income and they would be fine?
They would be fine. Okay. So that just comes down ultimately to how much the people care. And obviously, if the budget allows it, I mean, there's not a ton of value you can build when people have, tons of insurance, anything like that. So at that point, you're not even trying to really just sell them. You're more so kind of just trying to shoot in the dark. So it's like, yeah, what does it kind of look like? If she's taken care of, or no, what does it kind of look like if your income is gone? Everything falls back on her. Like, is she able to make this happen on her own? Yeah, she'll be fine. Like we make a healthy income, and obviously I know that, right? But I still have to ask these questions. So I'm like, okay, perfect. So I can tell that, you guys have a good amount of insurance. The incomes are pretty healthy, so you guys are pretty sharp, and it seems like you guys are set up in the right way, right? So most families are gonna find another, or no, no, no. What I'll say is I understand that she's taken care of now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you filled this out or set up this appointment with me, you just wanted to make sure that she had another layer of security on top of what you guys already have to make sure you also have peace of mind at night that she's taken care of, no ifs, ands, or buts. Is that correct? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes. So even just squeezing it out, although they're taken care of, like it's the chances are probably 50-50 that you can sell that person. But if you don't try it, you'll never know. So I think that could also discourage a lot of agents when they don't get the answer they're looking for. And you also got to realize like these people are human beings at the end of the day. Like they're pretty smart. Some of these people can understand what you're trying to do and what you're trying to pivot into, where you want them. So in some cases, people are, again, it ties back to what I was talking about earlier. People are going to say one thing, although it's not realistically what's going to happen, just to kind of get you off the phone or kind of go against what you're trying to say or trying to get them to say. So like that's an instance where I'll be like, okay, so this is just another layer of security, right? Perfect. And I've sold a couple people like that as well. Uh, I can't hear you. I don't know if.
I don't know, but we're just having some tech issues here. Screen is freezing, mic's muting. All right, two more questions, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A if anybody has any questions they want to ask. How do you walk through if, and guys, if you haven't heard me say this before, if you're new, please write this down. Never get off the phone with your tail tucked between your legs. So how do you handle bullies where they're just ripping on you? Because some agents, if you have to protect your, not only protect your energy, but also protect yourself, because like you have those clients where if they just beat you down into a hole and you get off the phone with them and like we all know that feeling where you're just defeated. So how do you protect yourself and your energy from those types of people?
Dude, I have fun with those people.
Yeah.
Those
Yep.
are the people
Yep.
that, and this is where it comes into kind of more of the psychology part. Like you just have to match the way that they're talking to you.
Yeah.
Obviously not cuss at them or nothing like that, but like, dude, if they're being short and snarky, like keep it the same way and don't be scared to call the people out. Like at the end of the day, like it's just words, but like if somebody's just obviously just horsing around, playing around, like I'm gonna keep it the same way with them. Ultimately, I'm gonna keep doing my process. I'm gonna keep going further on into the application, or not even the application, but the FI. And I'm literally gonna match whatever they're saying or the tone that they're saying it to me. And ultimately, if I can tell it's really not getting anywhere and they have nothing better to do than just talk to me on the phone, I'll just hang up on them. I'll just be quick to kind of understand that, hey, like, yeah, this ain't going nowhere. Like, I think you're good, man. Like, you have a good day. You're taken care of. Like, have a good one, man.
Yep. Yep. Just have fun with it.
Yeah,
Maybe let off a little bit of steam. This job's
exactly.
stressful enough. I love those types of clients though. Isabel asked a great question. She said, "What do you say in a situation where you show options, they can't afford it?" Because I have been, but oh, she's been dealing with that a lot recently and does not know how to handle it.
Yeah. So I've dealt with that a couple of times, and I'll tell you what I've done in the past, and I'll tell you what I do now because I actually learned a few things now. So in the past, um, this is gonna sound pretty bad, but I wouldn't really ask about their finances, like what they have at the end of the month, things like that. So I mean, in that situation, like let's say I show them something, let's say they're making $1,500 a month, they're on Social Security, they're retired. Highest option I'll probably show them then is probably gonna be like 125, 100, and then 75 and 50. If they're really saying that like $75 is something that they cannot afford, well, I'm like, all right. And this is kind of like just a shot in the dark. Like, hey, I totally understand it. Like, I'm not here to take food off your table. I'm only here to help out families, right? To make sure you're protected. Now, even if we were able to get approved for that smallest option at just $50 a month, would you see that taking any food off your table or still making it tough on you month after month? From there, about 7 times out of 10, I've had people that just sit there and think for like 30 seconds straight. Just complete science. I mean, silence. I stay silent as well. Sometimes they'll say, hey, yeah, like that's really going to stretch it. Okay, perfect. Well, then it probably wouldn't make the most sense. Again, I'm not trying to take food off the table. Other times they're like, you know what? I think I can do the $50. I'm like, okay. So again, not trying to take any food off the table. If we're able to get approved for that smallest option at $50, is that going to take food off your table next month or make it tough on you making these payments every month? No. Okay. So you can confidently say the $50 is something that you can pay every month. Is that correct? Yes. Boom. Green light. Because it could be somebody that's just not trying to tell you the real reason they don't want it, or it could just be simply they just cannot handle it or they think they can. So what I'll do now, what I've changed is obviously I'll ask how much they have at the end of the month, and this is something that I learned from Damon. He'll say, okay, well, if you have $1,000 left at the end of the month, the cool thing with these plans is that they won't allow us to put more than half of what you're saving every month at the end of the month after your expenses are paid up. So the biggest option we'll probably look at today is going to be $500 a month, and everything else is going to be under that. Okay, does that make sense? Boom. So then from there, you have ammo. They just told you they have $1,000 at the end of the month. If they still tell you that they cannot afford two, $300, it's either a value issue or they're just not with it at all. Like they're just have nothing better to do than just to talk to you.
Hmm. Absolutely. All right. Question for you too, because I see agents that are on two sides of the extreme for the amount of time I've been coaching agents. There's the group of agents where they just try to squeeze the juice out of every opportunity they can. And they spend way too much time with time wasters. I also see another group of agents where I hear them on a presentation and they give up way too soon. I'm like, dude, what'd you do? You could have closed that. Why'd you just hang up on them? So, how do you have the level of discernment to push and do your best, like give it your best and close that person without wasting your time?
Yeah, great question. So like I think the biggest thing is like when you can get them kind of to surrender to you or agree to you that they need it or they want it or it's a necessity, it all goes back to, the presentation and the word tracks. There's no reason that you're the first one to get off the phone with that person. Like if they can agree with you that they need some sort of coverage to be able to keep this home, you sure as hell better push that up until they hang up on you no matter what. Because like they literally just told you they need it. They're screwed. And if I'm getting into a situation where I'm rolling two objections and three and four, like back to back to back to back, like they're just throwing them out at me, at that point, like towards the fourth, fifth time, like I'll just get super real with them and just like transparent, like just as a human, like, hey, like I understand, this is your concern, but like you literally just told me earlier, like your wife is screwed without this coverage. Is that correct? Okay, perfect. So again, I'm not trying to push this on you. I'm not sitting here trying to force you or convince you on some insurance, but I also want you to understand the flip side of having it for that time to come. You just told me it's going to be very tough for her. So like ultimately, what does it come down to, Jonah? Like, is it something about the price? Is it more so about the coverage amount, or you just don't think that you need this? And you can be totally transparent with me. That's going to help me get you off the phone quicker. So just kind of explain to me like what's the biggest holdup now at this point that we've been on the call for, 30, 40 minutes. At that point, they can sense you're an actual human being. You're not just trying to sell them something. And they're more inclined to open up to you, especially when you shift your tone of voice and they're like, all right, well, let me just actually tell this guy what it actually is. 9 times out of 10, you'll either get it out of them right then and there what it actually is, or they'll throw another objection at you. And that's when you know, like, hey, this is probably not going anywhere. Like, let me move on to the next person.
Yep. Well said. Another question. You said earlier you get a lot of appointments through mass text. What do you say in those texts to see success?
So I think there's some text templates that are already like pre-made from the service that I get it from. So I don't really like mess with it too much. I'm pretty offhand with it, but it's something along the lines of like the script that we rip. So like, hey, this is the field underwriter in the state of, Texas. I'm just circling back to you about the mortgage that you closed with Rocket Mortgage. They should have assigned or they should have sent out something in the mail explaining mortgage protection. Did you ever get that policy set up? question mark, and then from there they'll either respond yes, no, bye, and kind of just pivot from there.
Boom. So just rip in the standard text templates.
Yeah, it's all in the volume. Like you're gonna find people, so it's all in the volume.
Yep. That's it. How many leads are you texting per week?
It kind of depends. I've been kind of messing with it a little bit here and there. So like I've been doing 1 to 5 year old leads. Like I've been tearing up 60-month plus leads. If they're setting up an appointment, I'm on the phone with them. It's not even like a question of what kind of lead it is, and that all ties back to the conviction. Like I think my past, I mean, this whole week, I think I got up like 15K so far on the week, and it's all been off of 60-month plus leads. So, what was your question? I just forgot. My bad.
Oh, just talking about you answered
Oh,
it.
how many leads
How
am
many
I
are you
texting?
how many are you texting?
So right now, I think this week I did you want to say it was like 3,700 leads, 3,700, and it's a lot of like 60-month plus, 1 to 2 year around there.
What's your lead spend?
My lead spend is about 4,000 a week.
Bam. So if you guys want to write 80K a month, spend 4K a week,
Yeah.
and you get there. That's it. That's it. All right, last thing, and Fabian, I think that just talking to you, I can tell you've put in a lot of work over the past year to pay down your ignorance debt. And you come across a lot older than your actual age. Like if you, I mean, you told me you're 20, I was like, there's no way. So this kid's 20. He's ripping. The biggest thing I took away from this, and I want you guys to make a mental note of, every single scenario that I gave Fabian on this call, he answered with a tremendously high level of confidence and conviction. And that's it. He did not stutter one time on a single thing that I said to him. So that is the biggest thing. Like you guys could be writing down all these track words of like, oh, what leads is he working? How does he say this? Oh, da 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 da. But that is the number one thing is when you get these people on the phones, I could have 10 dialers rep an appointment stream, but if I don't have confidence and conviction, none of it matters. So that is the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from this call. So guys,
Yeah.
drop some love in the chat for Fabian if you took value from this call. Brother, thank you for hopping on, pouring into the team. Dude, I'm just excited to see what you do over the next couple of years. It's going to be massive.
No, seriously. No, thank you. Honestly, like quickly here before we wrap it up, like yeah, the confidence, the conviction, like that's the biggest thing. Like, dude, if you told me I was going to be on one of your calls last year, like I probably would have been sick to my stomach, like anxious, thinking about what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, and I think ultimately you just progress that, you build that mindset, and that ultimately just comes from the constant repetition and then the small wins that stack up. I think that's definitely where that all comes from and stems from because I'm definitely not as sharp as I was last year as I am now, and the confidence is definitely not what it used to be. It's way higher now, and the conviction as well. So it all ties back to the same thing, really.
Let's go, man. Well, I'm proud of you. So, guys, let's make it a week. Reach out if you need anything. And the last thing, if you guys have not
Appreciate
already
it.
gotten your tickets to Chicago, get your tickets to Chicago, not only for the convention, for the lock in. It's going to be massive. Let's make it a big week. God bless everyone.
Let's go.